Hi students, it's Mrs. Kerr. Today we will be taking notes through the video. We will be solving equations and reviewing what you've done in middle school. So we are going to start off remembering how to solve two steps. So you should have a piece of paper, a lined piece of paper just like this. If you could put your name and the hour, that would be great. And then label this two-step equation notes. Now, we will always have a learning target, and the learning target will help with the quizzes and the test and how I grade. So today's learning target, and I will just abbreviate that LT. If you want to write learning target, you can. It is I can solve equations in one variable. So the goal of this solving is to get the variable by itself, to isolate. So the goal is to solve for the variable by completing the inverse operations of what's given. Now, some of this may start coming back to you from your previous math courses, and that's good. If it doesn't, that's okay. This is going to be a review for you. And you can pause at any time. You can fast forward, rewind at any time as well. So inverse operations, that's kind of like a new vocabulary. Your middle school teachers may have just said do the opposite of what's given, but the technical word is inverse operations. So the operation that is an inverse of multiply is division, and then the inverse operation of division is multiplying. So that is why I'm drawing that double arrow in between. The opposite or inverse operation of adding is subtracting. So once again, that's why I'm doing the double arrow. So the opposite of subtracting is in fact adding. Now, something that your middle school teacher may not have covered, which we will see a lot of second semester, is the operation of square or squaring. And that inverse operation is square roots. So, how we're going to take notes, I'm going to give you a few examples, and you're going to try your own. I'm not going to go through your turn. That's what I will be looking at when you submit your work for this. So I'm going to go over an example, and then you are going to pause this video, and you're going to try your turn on your own. One thing that's very important in math, and I'm sure your previous math teachers have told you, is how organized you are. Every step you have needs to be done on its own line. If you have two steps, you cannot do it on the same line. Because as a math teacher, I don't know which one came first. So I'm going to show you, I'm going to model what it should look like on your paper. So example 1. We have a two-step. It says 9 plus 3x equals 15. Now remember, it says the goal is to solve for the variable by completing inverse operations. Now I listed what is the opposite operations, but one thing that's really important to know is that you want to do the opposite of PEMDAS. So PEMDAS is parentheses, exponent, multiply or divide, and then add and subtract. So you're going to do the opposite. You're going to start from the bottom and then go your way up. Now I personally like to draw the line to separate. And now notice that I'm doing it on line paper. So I'm going to do one step in the next line on the bottom. So I want to look at these numbers. I'm trying to isolate the x. So I'm going to have to move the 9 and the positive 3. So how am I going to know which one to do first? Because it matters. You want to start with the adding and subtracting level because that's on the bottom. This 3 right here is connected through multiplying. So even though there's not a operation there, you will always know that it's multiplying if you don't see it. So notice multiplying is in the second level. So we cannot deal with that 3 yet. So now we have to deal with this positive 9. Now notice I wrote a positive. Positive because it's like adding. So what is the opposite of adding? The opposite of adding is subtracting. So whatever you do to one side, notice that I minus 9 on the blue line. I'm going to have to minus 9 on the other side of that red vertical line. So these 9s go away. And now I'm going to write down the 3x on the next blue line. And then 15 minus 9 gets me 6. So there's no more adding or subtracting. It's just the 3x. So we're done with this level. So now we can move up. We're to the multiplying, dividing. What do we see? We see multiplying. So we know the opposite of multiplying is division. So in high school, instead of doing that dot, line, dot for division, we just do a horizontal line, that fraction bar. So I'm going to divide by 3 and divide by 3. Now when you divide by 3, these don't technically cancel out, it just becomes a 1. So in your calculator, if you do 3 divided by 3, it becomes a 1. And that's exactly what we want. We want a 1x. And then this becomes a division problem on the right. 6 divided by 3 is 2. Now I'm sure that some of you could just do mental math, and you knew if you plug 2 into 3, 2 times 3 is 6, 9 plus 6 equals 15. That's how you would check your answer. In algebra, we need to see these steps. So this is exactly how your work should be shown in each of the problems. Now, you are going to try your turn. You will pause this video and you will attempt it because I want to see how you would do it. So at this moment, please pause the video, and when you are done with your turn, turn the video back on, so then you can go to example 2. All right, example 2. So you should have just finished your turn. Now, if you did, example 2 is negative 4x plus 5 equals 13. So once again, I'm going to draw that vertical line down the equal sign. because that separates the left side from the right side for me. It kind of organizes my thoughts. Now, I like to write PEMDAS for all the problems because I know I'm going to be working backwards. So I need to start at the add and subtract level. Remember what we said from example 1. This is not adding or subtracting because there's a multiplying sign between the -4 and the x. That's not till level 2. So I cannot do anything with that -4. However, I can do something with this +5. Now the opposite of adding 5 is minusing 5. +5, take away 5, goes away. So I'm just left with a -4x equals 13 minus 5 is 8. There is no more adding or subtracting because now I just have multiplying. So I'm done with the first level. Now I move up. How do we undo multiplying? We undo it by division. Notice that I am dividing by a -4. It's because I multiply by a -4. That creates a 1x, which is what I want. 8 divided by -4 is a -2. Notice that each step is on its own line, just like example 1. So since it's a 2-step, you should have 2 steps and then 2 lines. Now for your turn, I would like you to show your work for this problem. Now just like your previous your turn, remember, what's the opposite of minusing? You don't want to do the same operation, so just giving you a heads up. The inverse operation of minusing 3 would be adding 3. So at this moment, you should pause the video until you're done with your turn number 2. And then turn on the video again to do example 3. Now example 3, every year students don't like because they see a fraction. They don't understand that it is really a 2-step. Your middle school teacher may have taught you it as a 1-step, and that's fine as well. But in this class, I'm going to teach it as a 2-step. So I'm going to write PEMDAS. I know I'm going to start from the bottom and go up. Draw my vertical line down the middle. My first level is adding or subtracting. There is no adding or subtracting because this is a multiplying sign. And that is a division bar. So I don't even have the first level, so I have to cross it out. I do have multiplying and dividing. So we have to take care of this division bar first. We don't want a fraction, so we have to take care of it. What is the opposite of dividing? It's multiplying. So notice that the 10 is in the denominator. So I need to multiply that 10 in the numerator. Whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other. So I'm going to multiply by 10. Whatever I do to one side, I did to the other. Now, the nice thing about multiplying by 10 is that 10 divided by 10 goes away, becomes a 1. So then now all I'm left with is that 7 times x. And then make sure you use a calculator for this. 21 times 10 is 210. And now we're down to a 1-step. This 1-step you have seen before. You've seen it in example 2, and you've seen it in example 1. How do we undo multiplying now? By division. Since the 7's in the numerator, now it's in the denominator. 7 divided by 7 gets you that 1x we're looking for. And if you want to write that 1, fantastic. Just make sure you keep the x there. So 210 divided by 7 is 30. So once again, we have 2 steps. 1 step, 2 steps, and they are on their own line. So this is where you would pause it. You are going to do your turn number 3, and it's going to be 4 divided by 3, x equals 12. And you're going to take that 4 divided by 3 and do the exact same thing that we did in example 3. You're going to take it apart. So please pause it, and when you're done, you can move on to the last example of these notes, example 4. Okay, so if you are listening to example 4 in these notes, then that means you are done with your turn number 3. Now notice, if I draw my vertical line, the x is now on the right-hand side. That's okay. I know we get in a habit of writing the variable on the left, but it can also be on the right. So I'm still going to do my order of operations backwards. But now my eyes are going to be looking on this side because that's where the x is. So I have a minus 12. So I'm going to add 12 to both sides. Now be careful. This is a negative 6. So either in your phone or your calculator app or Desmos, make sure you put that negative 6 first. Negative 6 plus 12 gets you a positive 6 equals 3x. And now we're done with the first level. We have that multiplying again because the 3 and the x are right next to each other. So then we're going to divide by 3 on both sides. The reason why we're dividing by 3 and not the 6 is because the 3 and the x are the numbers together. The 6 is by itself. So 3 divided by 3 gets us that 1x that we're looking for. And then 6 divided by 3 is 2. Once you have example 4 done, I want you to try your turn. And then you have 5 equals 2x minus 9. Once you are done with your turn number 4, you can submit your notes to the assignment on Schoology. So I can look over your turn 1, your turn 2, 3, and 4. Also, I want to make sure that I can give you feedback. So when you take a picture, make sure that I can see your numbers. If you can't fit your turns on the right, you could always write it underneath the examples too. I'm not going to be that picky. I just want to make sure that your work and your notes are neat and organized and that I can follow along to help you. All right, thank you so much for your time.